Welcome to The Naked Truth. And now, your host, Bridget Barclay.
Good evening, America, and a very early morning, England. Welcome to The Naked Truth here on Annex Radio. My podcast this evening is actually very on timing, I think, with what's going on in Congress. I have a very good friend of mine that I've known since 2011, Steve Bassett, when we both spoke at Exopolitics here in Leeds. So without further ado, I would like Steve to introduce himself because, you know, with the amount of work that Steve has been on everywhere as a full activist in this. Steve, welcome to the NX Radio with me. Hello,
dear. How are you?
Hello, all right. Long time no see, like we said.
Long
time no see. But, you know, modern technology now. We have this. Who would have thought
Long
it?
distance relationships. They're the best kind.
Well, aren't they just?
Well, I'm glad to see you're doing well. I'm glad to see your bookshelf is quality and
well, it was before, but it's got certainly bigger now since last saw it.
I still like books, but Kindle is the future. So we'll eventually just have a hard drive behind us, a computer with Kindle on it, and no books.
That's your brain. That's your brain. You store everything.
I'm happy to be on your new podcast. I'm glad you finally got one.
Oh, bless you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's great.
Long time.
Oh, I know. Thank you.
Why did it take you so long? It's okay. It's all right. We need
life. Yeah. And wherever it takes us. But it's brought me here now. To you, again.
You're looking very comfortable in your flying saucer Christmas sweatshirt.
Yes, here's my
There it is. There it is.
One of many. One of many. I have one for like every day of the week for the next 4 weeks. Everyone's going to get so bored with me with them. But without further ado, Steve, right, let's talk about you. It's not about me, and I'm not going to hardly say anything tonight because I know that you can do the talk very, very well on all of this.
I don't know about that. I have some hard questions for you. Look, I'm a political activist. I have been engaging this issue for 26 years. I got in for one reason and one reason only, to end what was then called the UFO cover-up. Fine, UFO cover-up. That was it. I've never had an event or a sighting or been contacted, though I've certainly requested it, but no. It's like I could be able to go on an Uber and just Uber up a saucer. Where do you want to go? Centauri. Okay, fine. That'll be $400,000. No problem. And then they come get me, right? But they're not there yet. But I got into it as an activist, as an anti-war activist, who finally found something that was worth spending the rest of their life doing. And the more I got into it, the more I understood the politics of it, and also understood how it tied into the overall politics of the 20th century, which was it was one of those best of times, worst of times centuries. You know what I mean? So 26 years on, the goal was to end the UFO cover-up. But first I had to rename it the Truth Embargo, which is what activists do. You find the right language for the issue that you're addressing so that people can better engage it, understand it. The authorities who have whatever the policy is you want to change have their own language, and they want you to use their language, which almost certainly services the policy, whatever the issue. So UFO cover-up serviced the truth embargo because UFO is a term that they had corrupted years ago, and the cover-up implies that it was an illegal policy. Now, we can argue about that. Some people think it's illegal for sure. Certainly some aspects of it might have been illegal, but the ultimate decision made by Truman to not get into this and wait, right, which eventually became institutionalized, was for national security reasons, fully justified, fully legal. So it's not illegal. And therefore, to call it a cover-up is to criminalize the people inside our government that are servicing this issue and our national security. And that's not how you make friends, right? You're not going to get them on your side by saying you're all a bunch of criminals, right? Covering up. And so truth embargo. So it is an embargo of the truth, just like we have an embargo of Cuba. Some people think we shouldn't. I happen to think we should have stopped it long ago. But nevertheless, it's a legal policy. Same thing with this. So ending the truth embargo has been the goal for 26 years. And how does that end? It ends with disclosure. Capital D disclosure. Proper noun, name, like Christmas, right? It's spelled with a capital C. So this is a capital D. It's an event. It's the day, the moment that a head of state, probably of a fairly substantial country, not just any country perhaps, but we know those countries, were to confirm with to their people that there's an extraterrestrial presence. That is disclosure, capital D. That is what we've been aiming for. I've been aiming for 26 years, and that's really what everybody has wanted in this issue, going back to Roswell itself. 76 years, we wanted that confirmation, we couldn't get it. The century went on, whatever happened, happened, and now we're almost there. So the culmination of my work, starting in 96, is at hand. But the reason that we needed disclosure was not just to have it. It wasn't just to be able to say, oh yeah, there's ETs here. And I would say, great, you finally admitted that. I'm retiring now. I'm going to go to a fine island in the Caribbean where I have massive money stashed away from all of my speaking fees. And thank you. No. The reason to get disclosure is to get to the post-disclosure world. That is where the action is. That's where the purpose is, because the world is going to change. People may change, and we may be able to fix some of the things that we broke starting in the beginning of the 20th century, 1900. We made a lot of mistakes, huge mistakes, big miscarriages of justice, and bad decisions, you name it. It could have been a great century, ended up being really bad, right? For most people. And so post-disclosure world was the goal. It says, like Martin Luther King, he, and this is what activists do. They're not researchers. They don't get down into the granular details and tell you about, well, this is the individual that sent that letter on that date and the implication. No, we don't do that. We're trying to accomplish something. We're trying to deal with a political issue. You look at the larger prospects, okay, and you get a sense of where you're trying to go and what it looks like, and you convey that to people. The classic example of this was King. In his famous speech, I Have a Dream speech, toward the end, he talks about, I've been to the mountaintop. Okay? I've seen the other side. Right? And you will get to the mountaintop. You will see the other side. And then he describes what that other side looks like. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. He has gotten to a vantage point by looking at the larger picture, by dealing with the larger issues, sees where we have to go, and then helps people get up to that vantage point and see it as well, and then they go together. This is pretty much what all activism ends up being. And so that's what I do. Okay. And so what is the mountaintop? The mountaintop is essentially the overall perspective and view of the history of this issue, trying to understand where it's going. Okay? Mm-hmm. And the other side is, in fact, the post-disclosure world. I'm hearing a noise. I hope is that me, or is that on your end? No, it stopped. No problem. Okay. It could be me. We'll see. I have incredibly advanced technology here that was given to me by somebody in a USAP, and it has all kinds of things. So what is the other side, where we're going, is the post-disclosure world. And it's going to be something else. There have been some major events in history that have changed things. And then in the aftermath, people are walking around going, oh, well, what about this? What about that? Oftentimes pretty much regional, right? This is global, instantaneous, and the implications and potential for engagement are unlimited, right? And so the way I like to put it sometimes is that disclosure, this confirmation event, which we've never had, no head of state of any nation has ever said there's an extraterrestrial presence, not even Gary, the prime minister of Grenada, who tried to get a little something going into the UN before they deposed him and made him live in New Jersey or something. I don't. No head of state has ever done this. So disclosure essentially is like a master key. If you think of the world as a very large apartment complex with like 10,000 units, the manager, the maintenance guy for that huge has a master key that opens every single door. Could walk in on you anytime. That's why you got to lock it from the inside. Disclosure is like a master key to 10,000 doors that couldn't be opened before. Oh, we've beaten on them with our fists. We've kicked them with our feet, but they're too heavy. You can't open them. Disclosure is the key that opens every single one of them and allows us to then go through and see what's on the other side, to see things we couldn't see, to consider actions we wouldn't consider. And thus, suddenly, we have this whole range of possibilities that seemed not even there, now are present. But more importantly, the people that are walking through those doors are changing. Their worldview is changing. They're seeing things in a different way. And some people will be very huge and some people will be small. But whatever, the overall collective addition of all the worldview changes is massive. And so there we are, 2024, post-disclosure world, facing all the same problems the day after disclosure as we're facing now. They're not going away. And then what do we do next? So my job is to help get there. And then if I want to, and I definitely want to help be involved in the post-disclosure developments and actions. I have many colleagues already doing the same thing, getting all ready for that. And there's some projects I'm doing in lieu of that, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And this is the disclosure movement. It is, I believe, one of the most extraordinary activist movements in all of human history, and there have been many, because of the profoundness of the issue, the total globality of it, the number of people that know about it. I mean, Christ was a big event. Those fine gentlemen walking around Palestine way back, almost nobody in the world knew they existed. It took centuries before they became a thing, almost. Not now. The event that's happening now will be known instantaneously within 24 hours, virtually worldwide. All right? And so I invite people to start already thinking about what are you going to do in the post-disclosure world. But on the way to that, there's a couple things going on that they need to know about, and I'll get into that. So that's the basic opening statement here, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor. I just have a regular, very bad degree in physics, right? I'm a citizen activist. So what's on your mind, Brigitte? What question have you got for me?
No. From what you've just said was, I can see that. Well, I can hear a lot of feedback actually as well. I'm not sure why I can hear feedback. It's between probably you and me. You've got people, obviously, let's say last year with the disclosure and Congress. Obviously, this year we've had huge things being said, as we all know. Now, as we all know, because we are in ufology, and whether we come from an activist point of view, or whether we come from an experience point of view, or whether we come from the person next door that is your friend that knows that you're interested in this, and say, hey, what's happening? We have so many different variations of us all, and yet, like you said, countries that just don't get to see anything, whether it be the news or anything. I know it takes a long time to get over an experience, whether it be your first experience. I'll always say that your first experience, UFO encounter or paranormal encounter, just totally blows your mind. Now, what we're talking about is the post-disclosure is something absolutely phenomenal. Even I, as an experiencer, will be just like, whoa, for everybody else as well. So as much as I suppose a part of me learning is by me having experiences, and all of the other experiences continue to have experiences, we're sort of like being desensitized from it. Whether you be the channelers, whether you be the experiencers, the one-off experiences, we have been desensitized. But what about the shock and the horror? I don't want to say horror like that, but it will be to many people, because they won't see it as a religious thing, and they won't see it as a psychic thing or a spiritual thing. They will be absolutely beside themselves. So as much as they're at the top of that hill and they're just about to look over, they have no idea what's really going on. We're not just talking UFOs, and we're talking about things that you can't see, the energies that come with all of that. We're talking about the telepathy. We're talking about everything that let's say if you're a remote viewer and you're looking forward into the future, as remote viewers do. We're thinking further and further. So is that why it's gone really wrong at Congress? Just like last week, because the implications are absolutely massive. It's not just what people think, UFOs, oh yes, they've got all of these craft and they've got these bodies. No, the implications, it's like the ripple effect. It's so much further out.
Okay, I hear you. There's that, but I think it's fair to say though that after 600 fictional movies about extraterrestrials, some of the most successful of all time, $1.9 billion and all that, $1.9 billion, that have been shown all over the world, and of course 70 years of book writing and documentaries available pretty much to anybody. The issue is worldwide known. I mean, you have to go to the deepest forest of the boonies to find somebody that doesn't know what you mean when you say UFO in their language, right? So we've got market penetration. Almost every aspect has been brought forward. Even some of the more exotic things like remote viewing, it's out there. It's been talked about. There's been books written about it. People go on radio shows and talk about it. It's not a surprise. Telepathy, of course, is definitely not a surprise. It's one of the most interesting things of the contact world, is that virtually it's universal, which makes me very much inclined to think that telepathy is an inevitable outcome of intelligence and sentience. That any life form anywhere that gets to the level of sentience we are, telepathy is built into it somehow. So again, there's no what I would call immediate ontological surprises out of the gate. Now, there's going to be some consternation. There's going to be some controversies. But much of what is going to be said in the post-disclosure is already in the books behind me, in documentaries that have been done, and more that are on the way right now. And so I think we've overestimated perhaps how shocked people are going to be. Now, learning that there's an extraterrestrial presence and having one turn up in your bedroom, this is two different things. So the first time that happens, yeah, you freak. No question about it. You freak out. But I talked to enough contactees to know that they adjusted to it. It became, to some degree, normalized. They dealt with it. They adapted. This is what humans do. This is why there are so many of us, too many of us. is because no animal overcomes, adapts, and improvises like humans. We can survive in very extraordinary places, and so there we are. We're very, very good at that, and we've adapted to a lot of wild things, a lot of crazy things. This is probably one of the most prepared we've ever been for a major change, because of the nature of the modern world and communications and so forth. So I think we're going to be a little underwhelmed by the overall reaction of the general public. However, where it gets interesting is when the interface between the citizens of nations and their governments regarding the history of the issue. That's where it's going to get interesting. It won't be, you mean Cousin Martha really is having contact with extraterrestrials? The answer is, yeah. She's been telling us at Thanksgiving dinner for years now. You didn't believe her, right? And so, but the government, particularly the United States government, to a lesser degree the UK government, though I think the UK government's going to have a bit of time, there's huge public relations problems here. Already governments in general are in decline in terms of trust. There's a lot of unrest. Democracies are under threat. Autocracy is on the rise. And so things are dicey.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, the president of the United States, and very shortly thereafter that, the prime minister of the UK, is going to have to go before some very excited members of the press and answer the question, when did you know that we were not alone? And the answer is the 1940s.
Yeah. Is it going to be something like out of Mars Attack? It's just so great.
Yeah. 40s? Well, why didn't you tell us sooner? Well, the U.S. will say national security, and the U.K. will say, well, the United States, that's what they wanted. They got the nukes. They're protecting us all. But, just going along, not trying to cause a problem. Okay, same for Canada. Same for a lot of nations. But still, why didn't you tell us sooner? National security. When did you have the tech? Oh, 1940.
When did you get the tech?
And where did you get it? Yeah. Well, when did you get it is the most important question. 1940s. What? Why didn't you tell us sooner? Why don't we have access to that tech? National security. Okay. All right. And then the questions keep coming. And I'm telling you right now, because of all of the awareness and the amount of information available to any journalist, it's perfectly legal for them to read and watch docs. They know. There's plenty of journalists that know what's going on. They don't engage it. They don't write about it, but they know. Now, disclosure basically unleashes them. And so I'm going to tell you right now, in the first press conference by any spokesperson for the White House or the president himself, the very first one, contact comes up probably in the first 20 minutes. And the question will be simple. A reporter is going to ask whoever is giving the briefing, is it true, as many have said, that these non-humans are taking humans from their homes, from their bedrooms, from their cars, working with them in some way and then returning them? It's called abduction. Is it true? The answer is yes. They will absolutely say yes. And if people say, whoa, okay. Particularly the people
at that point, just I probably would, just as a shock horror, sort of like, I've been waiting for this, for so long.
Well, I think hopefully not shock, but you get a real tingling sensation and excitement, like, my God, finally they've acknowledged it. Yes. And then the next question is, and this is a tougher one, why didn't you stop it? And the answer is, there was nothing we could do. And that's a toughie, but that's true. There was nothing.
That's a frightening sort of answer as well, isn't it?
Well, I think that most contactees that have reasonable memories already well know there's nothing that the government can do.
No.
Which is not totally true, and I'll get to that later. But so that's out of the bag, and people are going, oh boy, this is getting really, really interesting here, and there will be questions.
You'll switch off the TV; they won't want to know, like many of them.
So I'm predicting the contact comes out immediately. So
Mm.
so day one, post disclosure, contact has been answered. The question's been answered.
Mm.
They cannot lie. The temptation would be to say, well, we don't want to go there yet, so we'll just say we don't know, and the internet will just rise up like a chalutu in the monster and just come down and rip that person to pieces. Lying is not an option in the post-disclosure world. In fact, if I'm a
No,
government, I'm not a dictatorship.
no,
I would make truth the absolute default position, and don't lie about anything.
no.
Right? If you got
Well, you
bad
never
breath,
have. You're you are the best activist out there, and like I said, I've told lots of people that you were coming on tonight, and they had so many amazing things to say about you. And I did say to you earlier, considering you've not had one experience, you are for me an original light worker on this. That you are coming from the heart because of it's something so important to you as well.
it's worth noting, as you probably know, Brigitte, what got me into this in the first place was reading John Mack's book
Yeah,
Abduction,
yeah.
and spending 4 months there at his program for extraordinary experience research, where I
Mm.
met contactees for the first time. So that was my first encounter with the issue up close and personal. And
Piers,
of course,
wasn't it Piers?
who now?
Piers, wasn't it Piers?
Here,
Yeah,
program for
Piers. That's it.
extraordinary
Yeah,
experience research.
because myself and Nick were in contact with him for working with me.
That's
I
right.
took all of the letters. Yeah.
So I've never doubted the contact experience.
Mm.
Never doubted it at all. And I've talked to many. I don't know if I've ever talked to one I thought was not telling the truth. I've talked to plenty of other people that weren't telling the truth, but not contactees. And so it's obviously that is a big deal. But there's two things going on right now that I'm dealing with. One before the other, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The first one is involving us. The extraterrestrial presence is very much about us.
Yeah.
There's a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm not saying it wasn't true in the deep past. I think ancient aliens has got a lot right there,
Mm-hmm.
and they were interacting with some of our earlier civilizations.
Yeah. But there wasn't disclosure back then. If you look back into the sort of like the Atlanteans and the Egyptians, they were walking amongst them, and they were there. It's only us, really, I believe, that we've been blocked continuously.
Well, yeah, the nature of the contact was very different.
I just worded that wrong, but yeah.
You're dealing with people that are not advanced technologies.
Yeah.
There's not global communications. You can come, you can go. It's not a big deal. And you're always going to be treated as a god. So I think any of the ETs out there are feeling like, I feel like being treated like a god, and I think I'm going to head to Earth. I'll be a god for a couple of years, and then I'll come on back to my mundane life. But it's totally different. So you're there. You don't care that they know, and they had reasons for being there, which may have been more about them and less about us. And that was the nature of the ancient involvement.
Mm.
Once we go technological, starting in the year 1900, that's a wholly different ballgame. Everything is changing, and it's changing rapidly. And so ultimately, disclosure is necessary because the nature of engagement now is totally different. They're going to be we're going to acknowledging their presence, which eventually they will confirm themselves with open contact. A civilization that is global, highly technological, spacefaring, with very powerful weapons.
Yeah.
That is, and who do not, well, with a few exceptions, consider them gods. They aren't gods. They don't admit to being gods, and we don't think of them as gods. This is a totally different time. This is when we can become affiliated with them as, quote, equals. This is a big deal. I call it the cosmic bar mitzvah. Right?
Okay.
So the first thing we're dealing with has to do with us. And
right.
Here's what I mean.
Can I say something before you start that one? Because I know what it's going to go on for a while. I think, and me and my good friend speak, it's about auto sort of like disclosure. It's them showing themselves to us like they have been, outside of the government control. Okay, so whether, like, say, you be the one-off person seeing it as you're driving, or continuous experiencer, or now people with the video recorders or their phones, with their cameras filming stuff. It's going to be on the basis that the government will not disclose the full truth to us. So that's why they're showing themselves to people, and that have these continuous experiences, because we are in many ways a disclosure. We are, like you, as an activist, because, like you say, you totally believe in everything that's going on with all of the abductees and experiences. We are the auto-disclosure. We are the ones that are going to disclose, because we know that the government won't tell us absolutely everything. And as much as, like you're saying, you're going to go over that hill, no. It's for you, it's for me, it's for all of the other thousands and thousands of us that are fighting our fight from what's happened to us or whatever, to push the government to say more. But of course, because of the technology and because of everything else that they know, i.e., like I said about the telepathy and the different types of beings, the different types of craft, it's vast for the public to know. But we, collectively, as a whole, will do it better than the government will.
We'll be part of it. The bills that have been written, and the fourth one is going to be signed in a few days.
Yeah.
It's a watered down version of the big bill. But the big bill wanted a lot. I mean, it went for a grand slam. We had to settle for a triple off the right field wall. But
elaborate.
Yeah, but it's enough. It's more than enough to move things forward some more. And what has to happen next is the hearings in front of the Senate Intel Committee.
I mean, yeah.
But the post-disclosure, one of the things that will have post-disclosure, which will be particularly pronounced, that people will notice and see, and they'll get a lot of attention, is the contactees are going to come forward in droves. They're going to be coming out of the closet. They're going to be stepping forward. And
I have done for 30 years.
Well, you're going to have company. How many, I don't know, but I think the potential for several 100,000 to be in play within a short amount of time is there. And so, well, first of all, they're going to be in great demand. Everybody's going to want to know one. Everybody's going to want to have one over for dinner. The media wants to talk to them.
Considering every time we ever brought the subject up over dinner, everyone goes, "Shut up, she's mad. Oh my God, don't listen to her."
Exactly. And now, after the first Thanksgiving, the first Thanksgiving after disclosure, crazy, Aunt Martha, right, is going to be sitting there at the table in her usual kind of reserved way, not wanting to say anything. Everybody's just looking right at her, right, just looking right at her, because Aunt Martha is a contactee, and you're going, "Martha, dear, would you like some more dog meat? Do you have enough cranberries? Right? Some extra wine? Yes, please. We want want you to be comfortable. And do you mind just telling us a few things about your experiences that you've had? We'd so much like to hear."
I have to say, over the last couple of years, and since Congress in the last couple of years, people have been asking more to me. Hence why, the timing of doing the podcast as well. But people do ask, but of course you don't give them that full story, because if you gave them the full story of actually all of the things that have happened to you, it's too far for them. So you just give them a little bit, a taster of it.
Well, after disclosure, they're going to want it all, dear. So just get it all down. Put out some talking notes. Just get it all ready. They're going to want to know everything.
It's up there.
And so that's going to be going on. But the thing that I'm getting at is that this two-part engagement is the disclosure is ultimately very important to what they're trying to do for us. So point number one, they could go to a lot greater lengths to be a lot more discreet than they do. I mean, they don't have to be so obvious, so ostentatious. There's so much they could avoid.
Beautiful.
But so clearly they are seeding the public awareness. It's their call. They know what they're doing. Probably done it before, but that's what they do. and they have been consistent in this. Okay, that has helped us keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And the process is strung out for 75 years, which for them may not be that big a deal.
No.
But it may be a big deal, and I'll tell you why in a few minutes. And it's also a big deal for us. And so I'm not surprised that it's breaking now, because all of that they have done and all that the researchers and activists and the contactees have done has pretty much just weakened the dam. I mean, the dam just gets weaker every year and starts to fall apart. It's crumbling, and at some point things are going to break, right? And so it's been about long enough, and it's breaking, right? But it's not coincidental that it's breaking at a time that it needs to break.
Yeah,
and here's what I'm getting at, all right?
I agree.
At the core of this part about what's in it for us is nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Nuclear weapons is absolutely critical to the story as to what has happened here.
Yeah.
And the way to describe it in a few words is this: prior to World War, the bombing of Japan, there was very little activity. A lot of Foo Fighters, a lot of planes being followed, maybe a couple of events, but not much activity until you go way back, and that doesn't count.
Yeah.
After we dropped those bombs, there's sightings starting to happen everywhere. Now, we only know of a fraction of them because in 1946, it just wasn't the basis to catalog, track, whatever film. Just no. But it looks like there was a lot of activity. A lot of it was around nuclear.
It's really weird synchronicity that about 3 or 4 minutes prior to us coming on, Robert Salas said that he agreed to come on to the show, which is absolutely amazing.
Excellent.
So, yeah, I know, right?
Give my regards to Bob. And so all of a sudden, there's all this activity, so much so that apparently there was a crash or two. One of those was at Roswell. Okay, and so fine, we get that vehicle. They don't come and get it. They don't come get it back. They didn't come get the bodies. They let us have those. And so we're now digesting this. This goes on for a couple of years, but the sightings continue. We don't disclose. We don't bring it out in the public. What we do is start building the nuclear arsenal and the missile arsenals. We started planning, building, preparing, and so forth, which was quite obvious. By 1952, we're 5 years in. The Russians have either, I think, tested at least the atom bomb, going to soon test the hydrogen bomb. They're working on missiles. We're doing the same thing. It's obvious where things are going. And we knew it. We knew where things are going. We're going to have a nuclear arms race with the Soviet Union. We were also in the middle of another war, the Korean War, which got us in conflict with the communist Chinese, who didn't have nukes yet, but they would. And this is 52. And so obviously our reaction to all the activity and even obtaining bodies and craft after Nagasaki, Hiroshima, apparently didn't impact us enough. And so what happens in 52 is in July, they start flying all over Washington, D.C. They're all over the place. They're being seen by pilots, are being seen by the radar at the airport. They're all over the place. Not a lot of cameras back then. But it caused a huge stir. The Air Force had to give a report. All kinds of things were going on. Everybody was upset. And so we made a decision, we must address this. And the way we addressed it was to call a panel together, a CIA panel together, called the Robertson Panel, to get their thoughts on what to do. And what they could have said, look, these things can go wherever they want, whenever they want. They can hover over the Capitol all day long. There's not a damn thing we can do about it. And so it's time to tell the American people about this and enter the post-disclosure world. But that's not what the panel decided. What the panel decided, ironically, was they don't appear to be a threat, but this huge growing interest in the phenomena by the people is a threat. And therefore, we must contain that interest of the American people, and thus formally began the truth embargo. 52. Sightings kept happening. They're doing their thing. I'm sure contact and abduction was going on.
Oh, yeah.
And then in 1962, what happened?
No, because you had it all in the 50s. You had all of the old B movies, didn't you, as well?
Yes. And in 1962, we had the Cuban Missile Crisis. a real close encounter with nuclear war, much closer than people knew at the time. Absolute confrontation. We could have had a nuclear war right then. Okay, we didn't. We just missed it. So guess what? Only about 4 years after the Cuban Missile Crisis, out of nowhere, ET craft are coming down. They're hovering over Strategic Air Command, ICBM bases, and turning the missiles off.
Yeah.
Once, again, they did it several times, a number of times.
Yeah.
They went to the Soviet Union, did the same thing.
Yeah.
They actually set some missiles into launch sequence. You think that's an accident? You think that's a coincidence? No. That was their second response to the fact that we're still not prepared to disclose this, and we're building a massive nuclear arsenal which could threaten our very civilization. And Air Force tried to pretend that Bob Salas didn't exist, and all the other witnesses. The media gave him very little coverage at all.
When did Robert go to because he did the very first the national press conference, wasn't it, in Washington?
He's done two. One in 2010 and one in 2022.
And that's with Dan Willis as well, wasn't it?
I think Willis was at the one in 2010. Again, got some press, but no follow-up.
Yeah.
So we're not dealing with this. And so time continues to go on. The ETs are doing their thing.
Yeah.
But the connection to nukes is clear. It's established. It's known, right? But the government cannot touch it because that is really the third rail of the evidentiary issue. Gun camera footage is one thing. SAC base officers telling them how the missiles got turned off several times is another, so they had to avoid it. And so that connection continues. There's more evidence. Most people in the field, like you, are aware of the famous case of Ariel School in Ruwa, Zimbabwe. They're also aware of the Westfall case in Australia, where saucers land next to playgrounds and occupants get out, and they project images of destruction that would appear to be in our future.
Yeah.
This
or
has
you
happened
have it in dreams as well.
Yes. This has happened more than twice. This has happened a number of times.
Yeah.
Contactees have consistently reported, and remember, there's been hundreds of thousands of reports, that is part of their experience on the craft.
To be shown.
They're taken and shown these images. Okay? That is not an accident. Right? And the images are not environmental destruction. It's nuclear, post-nuclear war destruction. And so it doesn't take a genius.
It's life, animals, everything.
Yes. And so this connection has been clearly established.
Yeah.
Now, where does it go? I have a pretty good, this is on the top of the mountain, other side of the mountain thing we're talking about. I have a pretty good idea where it goes. And it's this.
We've got 16 minutes. We got to talk about other things as well, but come on. You're going to have to come back
to the show.
Yeah, 16
God,
minutes.
I talk too much. Okay, I'm going to speed it up.
I love it.
No, I'm going to speed it up. Look, here's the deal. You're at
the top of the hill. You've got to finish. You're at the top of the hill.
Okay. The world has avoided nuclear war a number of times. Our luck is going to run out soon. It's more dangerous than it's ever been. Plenty of agreement on that. This is not speculation. We are literally dancing on the volcano's edge. And two, we're closing in on the solution to interstellar travel. Call it warp drive, call it Alcubierre drive, doesn't matter. The physics, and I'm following it. And I'm just following what's in a general public domain. There's this work is also going on in the most classified arenas. We are close to solving the problem that is posed by relativity in terms of point-to-point travel.
Yeah.
The ETs have that solution. That's how they get from star to star. And so here is then the punchline. What's in it for us? Disclosure has got to happen because open contact needs to happen. And disclosure should come first. Open contact without formal disclosure and a little time to adjust is disruptive, not necessary. And so we have to get disclosure to get to open contact. And what happens when we get to open contact? I think we're talking 2 years out, so that would put it around 2026.
Yeah.
What's the topic of discussion? 2 things will be at the top of the list. And we'll be hearing, I say open, I mean open. There'll be communications going on. We'll get transcripts.
Yeah.
Right? Or maybe a YouTube video, whatever the hell. We're gonna be told. Number one, right? You've got to get rid of the nukes. You're going to destroy yourselves. You're going to ruin a very good thing. And we see that as a terrible loss and a waste. So get rid of the nukes. Okay? Topic number 2. You have to understand that we are not going to ever allow you to climb into your newly built starship loaded with nukes and cruise on out to the galaxy to go where no person has ever gone before. That is not going to happen. We are not idiots. Now, those 2 things are critical to us and to them, and the timeline is getting tighter and tighter, and thus that is what accounts for the situation now. That is for our benefit. We will choose to get rid of the nukes or not. If we don't get rid of the nukes, we're never going to be allowed to go into space. We're never going to be allowed to go past our solar system. They can stop us like that.
Hence why they're taking plants, hence why they're taking embryos, hence why they're taking animals. That's why they're doing it.
Well, I think our DNA, Earth DNA, has been shared, collected for millennia, for millions of years. I think it's all over the galaxy. I think that's true of all. So I wouldn't worry about, there's probably millions of dead species that actually have got DNA out there. They may bring back to life. We don't need to send 1 trillion people to colonize, the solar system in order to preserve the human race. It's already preserved. And so that is what's driving the timeline, the nuke issue. And we're going to have a decision to make. Get rid of the nukes and be able to go to the stars and interact with them, or keep the nukes and be quarantined in the sense that we'll never leave the planet with those starships. And then the second question will be, okay, we're quarantined us, we don't care, we're never going to give up our nukes, we love our nukes, we worship our nukes. And the answer to that will probably be, look, we can help you out a lot. We've got a lot of things that could be extremely helpful. You have huge problems. We could be of assistance. But if you don't get rid of the nukes, we're not going to do a damn thing for you. Why should we waste our time and effort on a civilization that is stupid enough to blow itself to pieces? And so keep your nukes. Good luck. You're not leaving the solar system. We'll see you.
And collectively,
years. Okay.
Everyone's got to hear that.
That is the one thing. And the other thing is for them. And that is the genetic research that you are part of, and many other contactees are part of, that counts for the animal mutilations and so forth, the gathering of, and so this is going to be explained one day. Open contact, I think we'll get that explanation, and we will learn exactly why they're doing what they're doing. And that is important. It's not a question of whether it breaks our laws or don't break our laws. They're not assigned to any treaty with the reform. The question is, knowing why will make it a lot easier for contactees.
Yeah, of course. A lot of unanswered questions in our heads going on.
And so these are the 2 things that are fundamental to this whole 75 years, aside from all the rest of the stuff. Right?
Yeah. Everyone goes, why you? Why you? It's like, well, I don't know. It's like, that's just how many times do you hear that? It's like really stupid. It's like, haven't got a clue. But, we're all a part of it.
Well, a number of the researchers do believe it's genetic strains. In other words, they are dealing with genetic lines, which is what we do, right? We do that in genetic research all the time. And that explains for a lot of mother-daughter, mother-son, father-daughters, and multi-generations. I think it's genetics. I think it's a genetic line, which is the why, right? So it's just it's the luck of your genetic heritage, and that's important to them. All right. I'm dying to know the reason, and I hope that the reason is not too awful. I hope it's something we can even at least appreciate a little bit and respect why they're having to do it. But I don't know. I mean, I just don't have the vision. They don't really convey that. Contactees don't come back with detailed reports about the rationales for all the things they do. They don't seem to convey that information. So that's one of the things that lies ahead. Why is the genetic work being done? Why is it necessary to take humans at all? And so forth. So That's a lot. That's a lot, and that's what we're looking forward to. Now, in order to get it, we need to get hearings in the Senate. That's why I launched it a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Shift Storm. Don't miss the F. Shift Storm.
I
Shiftstorm.com.
thought you said shitstorm.
Now, it's got an F in it. Shiftstorm.com.
It's a bit of a shitstorm as well.
Shiftstorm.org. Go there. It's basically all about anybody in the world with a Twitter account sending what's the word? Tagged messages on Twitter. Tag Senator Schumer, tag Senator Rubio, tag Senator Warner, 3 heroes on our side with messages. We want hearings in January before that committee, before the Senate Intel Committee.
Okay.
We're trying
I've
to get
got a Twitter account I hardly use, so I better use it then for that.
Absolutely. We want to get 100,000 tagged notifications into their notification box by the end of the year.
Everyone hear that?
I'm also publishing their email form boxes. So you go there, fill out the emails, put the thing in, send it. It becomes an email on the other side.
Okay, we've got 8 minutes, so plug all. Well, Rafe should put all of your details at the bottom. He's got all of your details at the bottom.
I'm sure he will.
And yeah, so I want to ask though, before you go, about your Hollywood Disclosure Alliance in Los Angeles. Please tell me that. You've got 8 minutes. Another
program started back in November 1, Hollywood Disclosure Alliance, HollywoodDisclosureAlliance.org. You're going to be part of it very soon.
I know. Can't wait.
It has been set up for the post-disclosure world. It is a networking entity which is going to be filled up with film industry, entertainment industry professionals who endorse with their photo and bio. The other side is going to be UAP, ET, researchers, activists, documentarists, witnesses, and so forth, journalists, right?
Yeah. I've got a few more people to come your way, besides Rory that I sent you, but I've got a few more people, big people.
So we're going to make it easy for them to know who to get in touch with. We're going to try to facilitate. We will be non-commercial. We will have no piece of anything. We will make no money, but we will say, come and break bread together. In other words, these people in the industry are interested, and we're hoping to get in some big shots so that
or some independent people like Rory that I put to you that you knew. I mean, independent and an experiencer and a filmmaker. So how much better is that?
The film professionals are more and more willing to come forward now, and so we're going to give them this basis to network to create the post-disclosure content without leaving out us. Okay, because they have made some content without talking to us, and they've screwed it up. All right, and so that the people in this field can get recognized, can make some money, can fulfill their desires to get this information out with the help of the professionals that make huge documentaries and films. Hollywood Disclosure Alliance is modeled after the Environmental Media Association, 30 years on, very successful.
And the timing's great. The timing's great because obviously you've just got over what's happened out in Hollywood with all of the actors, the strike as well. Yeah,
that helped. And so the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance is a project. It will be a 501c3 nonprofit. We will be raising funds soon, and it's about the disclosure world and creating content that will help educate the entire planet to whatever they need to know.
I have my partner out in LA, so I'm all for it. You know it.
So right now we need more film executives. It could be anywhere. It doesn't have to be in the U.S. It could be anywhere. It doesn't matter. The film industry is essentially global now, and it's so we're looking for more of those. And as I add more film industry and entertainment industry founding members, we can start bringing in some of the UAP founding members, which are circling overhead at 10,000 feet, waiting because I can't have it imbalanced. I need to have it roughly about the same. Okay.
Obviously now you've got the UAP medics as well that's just come into force as well, which is absolutely brilliant for people.
Yes.
That's it's all collectively coming together, right?
It's all happening.
It's really exciting. Well, there's probably a better word than I can describe than exciting, but about time, a swear word in the middle, about time really for all of us. Yeah.
All things come to an end, and that includes truth embargoes. Yeah. This one is going to end. If we get the hearings in September, we can have disclosure in January. Yeah. We can have disclosure in January, February. We need to get it ahead of the election so that this issue is fully part of this $6 billion election we're about to hold, and all the candidates can speak to it.
So is this what you said about Twitter? Everyone needs to go onto Twitter and put the 3 names in.
Yeah, if you go to shiftstorm.org, I've got the 3 senators with their email forms as well as their Twitter handles. And when you put a message in, when you tweet at Senator Schumer, we want hearings in January. Thank you so much for the legislation. You're my hero, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. It goes right into their notification box. And mm-hmm. those boxes are monitored by staffers. And they also monitor the email boxes. And so if thousands of these messages start dropping in, they'll call up the member and say, you need to check the notification box. Because
we're full.
A lot of messages. That's it. It's that simple, folks. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. But also here in England, I mean, gosh, you've got 4 minutes, right? 4 minutes. Here in England, we're so slow behind you guys out in the States. I know Nick Pope has been working with The Guardian over here and various other TV shows over here, well, news shows, channels, just to help. But, you know, our parliament, I mean, it's just like non-existent.
But to be fair,
so we need to get hold of our MPs, our local MPs, write to our local MPs that this has happened to us here, and then then they can write to Parliament, can't they?
Yeah, but to be fair to the UK, look, the UK government is deferred to the United States. It's like, look, you are the big guy here. You got all the news, everything. All right. They defer to us on that. However, you know the country with whose press has covered this issue more than any other country? UK.
Are you really?
UK.
Well, that's the help of Nick Pope, really, because he's always been the correspondent.
Archive with 15,000 linked articles right now, and that's pretty much the professional media. Okay, and the number 1 country, UK, the Daily Mirror, the the Daily Express, the Daily Star, the Sun, the US.
Right, I'm going to stop you there. The Star, the Sun, for all the UK people, the Star, the Sun, and the Mirror, they're not really like the Telegraph and the Times, are they?
No, the Telegraph a little bit. The Times not at all. The Times.
I'm putting the sun down. I can't put the sun down.
But the news tabloids in the UK have done more coverage than any other countries, and everybody reads them. And so the UK people, they're totally up on this. Well, but the government is standing back. That's okay.
But also, on the other end of the scale, you've got your newspaper on the table, and you've got this, I've been abducted by aliens and they took my baby, something really stupid, right? And, and they, something really ridiculous. Well, then you're just going to say, oh, that's absolutely shit. And then they're going to turn the next page. We are getting that in the press, we are getting that, and it is still like making us all look like we've got tinfoil hats.
No,
I've been in the press here in England, and they've made me look like stupid. That's why I got
that was a while
in the first place. I know.
They do some funny articles, but trust me, this is legitimate journalism.
Oh, we got 1 minute.
A huge amount of legitimate journalism in those
1 minute, so you can say whatever you want to say. Forget the English press right now. I'm really sorry. Say something. You got 1 minute.
I'll be speaking at Contact in the Desert May 30. It's going to be a huge conference. If you want to be there, you need to book the hotel room now. Indian Wells Renaissance Resort. Speaking at the Conscious Life Expo, LAX Hilton, in mid-February. We expect 25,000 people there, right? So I'll be there for that. And HollywoodDisclosureAlliance.org, ShiftStorm.org, ParadigmResearchGroup.org, and follow me, please, at Steve Bassett on Twitter. You cannot have too many Twitter followers.
Oh, and Race didn't put up any of the pictures. Oh, I gave him loads of pictures. I gave him a picture of us. I gave us.
I know. I saw it. I saw it.
And when we all spoke with, well, there was a massive lineup at Exopolitics 2011 when we all spoke. I think it was there. God, so many. Richard Dolan, Dave Hogan. Oh my God, Rich Hall. Everyone was there. Oh, Kim Carlsberg was there. Everyone was there, weren't they? Oh,
look, there have been many conferences in the UK. The UK is going to light itself on fire post-disclosure because the government will open up. Everybody's been reading these tabloid news forever. They know about this issue. There's been thousands of articles. The UK is going to go boom. I want to be over there. I want to be talking to massive audiences, like 2,000, 3,000. Okay. post-disclosure lecture from Stevie Boy, because I've got some debts to pay off.
Haven't we all?
Yeah, I built up a bit of debt here, being the poor political activist. I need to pay it off as quickly as
You
possible.
need that boat on the Marina Del Rey now.
Exactly. My dear, what a pleasure.
Listen, it has always been a pleasure. All right, Steve, listen, there is going to be a part 2. I'm enjoying having part 2s with people because we can't say enough in part 1, right?
No.
So we're going to have you back and we're going to talk more about Congress again. And, again, there's other, here and here, there's other questions that we didn't get to.
You got 2 pages of questions there for me.
I know.
Did you honestly think you were going to get 5 of those answers?
I know, how amazing is that? Right, listen, guys. It's been a pleasure, Steve. Again, yes. Steve Bassett. Thank you so much. You are such an activist. Yes, I know. I've told Grace I want to do more than an hour, right? But you are a fantastic activist for all of us. And, I thank you from the bottom and the top of my heart for doing what you do. And, going to fight the fight with you, like us all. We're all part of this together. And, who better? You are our light worker. Really, you are. That sounds really woo-woo, but you really are. You are considering. All right. So thank you so much. And it is a wrap. Next week, I have an English guy called Daz Smith. He is a remote viewer. He's worked for the government. He is an author on controlled remote viewing. English guy. And looking forward to speaking with him because remote viewing, as we know, is a part of all of this. It's all joined together. All right. So thank you, Steve. Again, see you, Steve, in part 2. And we'll catch up in the next couple of weeks. All right.
Okay, dear. Bye.
Take it easy. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, from the Unexed radio show. My name is Bridget Barclay, and you have come to the Naked Truth with myself and Steve Bassett. See you later.